since Nolan himself isn't exactly sure. There are some practical issues involved with stealing Raymond's truck plus the $1,500 that, if you want to be literal, belongs to the Aryan resistance movement. But there's more to it than that. If it were just a question of disappearing and starting over, Nolan could have some fun. Sell SUVs in Palm Springs, deal blackjack in Las Vegas, go to Disney World, put on a goofy suit, let toddlers fuck with his head. What he'd really like to do is give every man, woman, and child in the world the exact same hit of ecstasy, the same tiny candy, pink as a kitten's tongue, that managed to turn his head around, or more precisely, to give his head a little, well, a fairly big push in the direction it was already headed. But that's not going to happen. Free X for the human race. So maybe the next best thing is to help other people find a more gradual route to the place where the X took Nolan. Meanwhile, he knows that thinking like this will only get in his way. He'll stay cooler if he convinces himself that he's just interviewing for a job. Has it been only 2 weeks since Nolan finally made up his mind? A long 2 weeks of trying to figure it out, especially after he knew how he was going to do it. No one promised it would be easy, but Nolan has prepared. He's read up, starting with 2 books by Meyer Maslow, the founder and current head of the World Brotherhood Watch Foundation. He actually went out and ordered them through the bookstore in the mall. The first book, The Kindness of Strangers, Maslow's tribute to the people who saved his life when he was on the run from the Nazis, was what made Nolan begin to think that maybe his plan could work. For balance, Nolan has also been reading The Way of the Warrior, a paperback he took from the tire shop, borrowed from the backseat of a Ford Expedition some yuppie brought in for the Firestone recall. Nolan knows the book's a fortune cookie for bond traders with samurai delusions, but still, it's filled with ancient principles of diplomacy and war that help Nolan untangle the knots into which his thoughts can get snarled. For example, The Way of the Warrior says, planning is key. Planning and total freedom to change the warrior's plan. The book suggested that Nolan wait till afternoon. The warrior knows that the enemy is best approached after lunch. So Nolan has spent hours cruising the suburbs, killing time. Driving into the city, Nolan went over the plan. Park truck, find 51st Street. Find building, enter lobby. Locate elevator, push button. Board elevator, hold breath, assume that every passenger carries a different contagious disease. The plan is working better than planned. The elevator is empty. He finds 19, pushes the button, leans against the wall. Just before the doors close, a dwarf hops into the car. Young, tan, streaky surfer hair, oddly handsome for a guy with a mashed-in pumpkin head. A blindingly bright white T-shirt shows off his gym-buffed chest. Great, thinks Nolan. My luck. Our man is being tested. The old Nolan would have been pissed, forced to ride up 19 floors with a mutant. The newly reconstructed Nolan wills himself to imagine what the short dude went through on his first day of kindergarten. Or asking a girl to the prom. Nolan had a hard enough time, and he's on the tall side. The trouble with changing your attitude is that the old one doesn't disappear. It hides in the creases of your brain, sending out faint signals. He can hear what Raymond would have said about the elevator dwarf. The hungriest chromosome is the broken one. The weak and the damaged will multiply and conquer the earth like a virus. Nolan remembers one of those boozy late-night discussions with Raymond and his friends. One guy said that people used to think dwarfs had magical powers, which, they all agreed, just went to show how stupid people are. Nolan never bought it. He never believed that freaks were having lots of sex and millions of freaky children. The elevator seems to have stopped. Is this Nolan's floor? 19, says the mind-reading dwarf. He got on after Nolan. He couldn't have seen him hit the button. What if Workout Dwarf is a magical being? And what's with the knowing smile? Maybe he works in the building and he sees 1,000 guys like Nolan. Every week some Nazi punk turns and heads for Brotherhood Watch. That worm-colored geek with the shiny head? Send the guy up to 19. Nolan has to remind himself that he's dressed in such a way that there's nothing to distinguish him from your normal, fashionably bald dude in jeans and a long-sleeve shirt. The elevator releases Nolan into a carpeted hall paneled in gleaming wood. Behind the reception desk sits a beautiful Asian chick in stylish black ninja pajamas. How classy, how predictable for a famous human rights outfit to hire a PC dragon lady to guard the front door. Nolan recalls a Hong Kong film where the secretary rockets up from her desk and does triple flips, slinging nunchucks around the office. He wishes he'd brought 6 other guys. He wishes his tattoos showed. In the end, what he can't hide is enough to give Susie Wong the willies. The duffel bag is a problem, as he knew it would be. Of course, it would have been smoother if he could have left it somewhere. As Nunchuck Girl eyes the bag, Nolan watches a little fight-or-flight thing take place in her face, until her receptionist training wins out over her basic human instinct not to be anywhere near him. Nolan has the feeling she's got one finger on the panic button, just in case. May I help you? I'd like to see Mr. Maslow. Dr. Maslow. Whatever. Do you have an appointment? He doesn't know what the gentleman's called. Does it sound like he has an appointment? No, says Nolan. I need to talk to him. So do millionaires, politicians. Nolan can expect about 5 more seconds of Miss Yin-Yang's attention. He says, I've got some information I think you might want to have. I guess you know what ARM is, right? The American Rights Movement? A definite yes from Ice Princess. Now she's really eyeing the duffel bag, obviously wondering if this is her time, if her bullet-riddled body will be all over tomorrow's front page. And is that a tiny twitch pulling her hand beneath the desk? Call security, red alert, Hitler's in the building looking for Meyer Maslow. Nolan can't decide if he wants to pop her in the nose or fall on his knees and promise he won't hurt her. He follows her glance toward the duffel bag. I'm in kind of a transitional state, he says, and if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, he turns his palms outward and tries to smile. I'm harmless, I promise. Unarmed. There's nothing in the bag but some books and clothes and dirty laundry. The receptionist's lip curls. She doesn't want to think about Nolan's dirty laundry. I was in ARM for 5 years. Lie number 1. And Nolan's only been here 2 minutes. So what? It's a detail. They can hash out the fine points later. Congratulations. She gives him the freeze-out look she learned in Bitch Receptionist 101. She hesitates, thinks some more. Then she picks up the phone and keeps pushing the same button. Security isn't answering, so she's pretty much on her own. Is that fear on her face? Just a trace, and it's gone, either because she's a professional receptionist, or because she doesn't want to give Nolan the satisfaction. Or because he's charmed her. That's always a possibility. She listens, pushes another button, listens, then another. So the person about to deal with the fact of Nolan's existence is several rungs down the food chain here at World Brotherhood Watch. Bunny, she says, there's someone here you might want to talk to. Bonnie? Maslow's secretary, probably. Did Nolan think Madame Butterfly was going to ring the boss's direct line? She looks at Nolan. Miss Killen will be out shortly. Nolan strolls across the foyer and checks out the art on the wall. A mammoth canvas gunked with gobs of that shit brown color kids mix up just to piss off the art teacher. A finger painting of train tracks. Some genius got a fortune. Excuse me? Nolan wheels around to find himself standing way too close to what's got to be Bonnie. Putty-colored business suit, thin blondish hair tied back into the same limp pigtail she probably wore in college, 40-ish, couple of kids, bossy psychiatrist husband. Nolan worked for 100 women like her. That summer he spent her on Woodstock humping chlorine and skimming bugs for Skip's Pool and Spa. Bonnie's eyes, 2 magnified blue jellyfish swimming toward him from behind her glasses, looked slightly psycho. Another female nutcase. One of those women, like his mom, always trying to be a good person, except that they're clueless as to what